All right, we're going to break down the incredible story of Mark Lelur. This is a guy who was told his big idea was a total failure in the making, only to turn around and sell it for millions. But, this isn't just another success story. It's really a masterclass in what it takes to win. Resilience, some pretty unconventional thinking, and just pure, unfiltered willpower.
So this is where it all kicks off. I mean, can you imagine? You pitch an idea you really believe in to your bosses, the people paying your salary, and they don't just say no. They literally laugh you out of the room. Now, most of us would probably just tuck our tail between our legs and walk away. But Mark Lelur, he just said, okay, bet. And not bet? Well, it paid off in a huge way. So let's walk through his journey from that first little spark all the way to the massive exit and really dig into the playbook he used to win. And that's the real question we're trying to answer here, isn't it? Because it's not just about having a good idea. It's about a very specific mindset, an almost insane tolerance for pain, and following a set of rules that, honestly, go against almost everything you've ever been told. Every massive journey like this starts with a little shift in perspective. For Mark, it was one single moment that just completely blew up his definition of what was even possible. So, back in university, his ambition was what most of us would probably call pretty normal, right? He had a number in his head, $200,000 a year. That was the dream. That felt like the absolute pinnacle of success, the key to a good life. And then this number pops up, $3 billion. That was Facebook's offer to buy Snapchat, which to him was just this simple little toy app. This one piece of news completely recalibrated his entire understanding of money, of value, of everything. And that was it. That was his immediate reaction. That whole $200,000 goal, poof, gone, vanished. A brand new, much, much bigger path just opened up right in front of him. But of course, you don't just decide one day to build a billion-dollar company and then, succeed on your first go. No way. Before the big win, there were the failures, and they were absolutely crucial. These weren't just failures. This was his training ground. First, he built a messaging app using his student loan money, only to accidentally delete his entire user base. Ouch. Then he started a task marketplace that was actually getting some traction, but it all fell apart when his co-founder got an offer from Google. 2 big failures, 2 priceless lessons. And this right here, this became his mantra. He didn't see those things as the end of his story. Not at all. They were just chapters. The way he saw it, as long as he kept going, he was just learning. He wasn't losing. Which brings us right to the moment of truth. He's armed with all these lessons from his failures. And now Mark is facing a choice that is going to define his entire future.
So this was the trade-off, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got his original dream, a $200,000 salary as a meat salesman. It's safe, it's comfortable, but there's a ceiling. And on the other side, a brand new venture, 0 salary, but unlimited potential and total control over his own destiny.
And this was the final push. He pitches his bosses on taking their business online. They laughed at him. They told him it would fail. Well, that dismissal, that was all the motivation he needed. 1 month later, he was out the door, ready to build it himself and prove every single one of them wrong. That bad idea was about to become true local. So, quitting your job, that's the easy part. What came next was 5 years of just relentless, soul-crushing work. This was not some glamorous startup story you see in the movies. This was a war in the trenches, day in and day out. I mean, this quote just says it all. He compared 5 years of building his company to running a 100-mile ultramarathon, and he said the run was nothing compared to the business. Think about that. 45 hours of intense physical pain versus 5 years of nonstop mental and emotional stress. Yeah, and he wasn't just building some simple app here. He was trying to solve the hardest parts of like 3 different businesses all at once. He had to figure out last-mile delivery, something giants like Amazon still struggle with. He was shipping perishable food, so one mistake in the cold chain and poof, thousands of dollars of product gone. All while building a tech team from scratch and managing warehouses across the country for tens of thousands of customers. It was an operational nightmare. But you know what's crazy? The physical work, the insane hours, that wasn't even the hardest part. The real pain, he said, was the psychological weight of it all. Waking up every single day with this dark cloud over your head, pouring your entire life into something with absolutely no guarantee that it would ever, ever matter. But in the end, it did matter. This was the number that made all that pain, all that fear, all that sacrifice worth it. $16.7 million, the final sale price for TrueLocal. So, how in the world did he do it? After the sale, Mark basically distilled his entire journey down into a few core, pretty unconventional principles that frankly go against most of the advice he'll ever hear. Okay, so his first rule is a big one. Engineer your own luck. He's convinced it's not something that just happens to you, it's something you actively create. At a conference once, he literally followed a billionaire to lunch. He just outlasted everybody else who wanted a moment, patiently waiting at the table. And when his chance finally came, he didn't ask for money, he offered value. He shot his shot and engineered his own luck. Rule number 2 is all about partnership, and he is crystal clear on this point. He says he would be absolutely nowhere without his wife, Irma. She wasn't just some supportive spouse cheering from the sidelines. No, she was right there in the trenches with him, his co-founder in life and in business. And finally, his most controversial rule, the idea of work-life balance is a total myth for founders. He argues that trying to separate work from life is a losing game. For him, the goal isn't separation, it's integration. If you're building something truly great, obsession isn't a flaw, it's a requirement. You don't need to work less, you need to work harder, and you need to love it. So, what does a guy do after a $16.7 million exit? Retire to a beach somewhere? Nope. He goes out and gets a tattoo. Just one word: chase. For him, see, the money wasn't the real prize. It's the pursuit, the chase itself. That's what makes him feel alive. And that brings this whole thing right back to you. His story shows that the biggest bets we ever make are on ourselves, and they're fueled by that need to pursue something that actually feels meaningful. So, you have to ask yourself, what's your chase?